Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Elsie here, and in today's video I want to tackle the common phrase just be yourself and how that lands in the brain and body and life of a autistic person, of a neurodivergent person who may or may not be undiagnosed when they hear it commonly told to them throughout their lives, and how this often well-meaning phrase really just doesn't work for us. So if that's interesting to you, I hope you stick around for the whole video, and I'll see you in a moment. So I was inspired to speak and think about this idea of just being yourself this week because I actually had some pretty amazing experiences where I felt like I could be myself. And so it really highlighted to me the difference between what being myself actually feels like and what spaces I'm able to be that way in versus the way that I related to this phrase throughout most of my life. As we know, I just started this YouTube channel about 2 weeks ago, so I'm still introducing myself to you all, and in a nutshell, I went through 23 and a half years of my life not knowing a real huge core piece of who I was and my identity and my way of operating in the world. So about a year and a half ago, I started learning about autism and really went on a deep dive of self-discovery and questioning if autism was a fit for who I was. And I was really hoping because from the first second I read about it, I was like, holy moly. And when I say that I read about it, I meant that I was reading about it from a lens of the way it shows up in women or people socialized as women, and how that is a lot different because I did my first year of university as a neuroscience undergrad, and I didn't continue with university, but we definitely had a segment in my intro to neuroscience course all about autism. And I remember at the time thinking like, okay, I can just relate to how this difference in your brain makes you feel so different in the world. And I could really resonate with that. And there was something, just that internal intuition of knowing like, I feel something about this, but of course, the way we spoke about it in class was very clinical and pathology based, and just like, this is this other like faction of society that are on the outskirts. Like, these are their traits and their behaviors, and this is who they are. And it just came across in a way that was very separate. And I remember too, that was in 2019, and there was also at that point a real emphasis on the person first language, so person with autism. And now, of course, we have evolved to be using the identity first language of I am an autistic person, because it's just who we are. There's no person with autism like as a side of fries, you know? It's just, it is so intrinsic to our beings. And so figuring that out over the course of the last year and a half has been hugely life-changing for me, and it has shown me a lot about this phrase of just be yourself, and why that absolutely makes no sense to someone who is undiagnosed and struggling day in and day out to figure out how to behave and how to act and speak and relate to the world around them. And so this week I had some really beautiful experiences of being in spaces with other autistic folks and other people who have autism and ADHD and potentially other neurodivergencies. I mean, I can only speak to my neurodivergence, which is autism, and I do suspect that I also have ADHD, but we can get into that another day. And so, yeah, just the feeling of belonging and comfort. And it's like you can finally just take off your shoes or your socks at the end of a long day and like jump onto your couch, and your body just sort of like lands in this way that you do not experience as an autistic person moving through the world with neurotypical people who have no idea that you are running on a completely different program than them, because they don't know what it's like to be you inside your brain and through your eyes. And you don't know that your experience of the world is markedly different from the way that they move through the world. And so you are constantly doing all this work in the background to process and calculate and figure things out, and you don't know that they're not having the same experience. You might sort of have this subtle awareness of like, wow, it really seems like that person or those people in my life just have like an easier time in general. And when you go up to them and you say, hey, I'm really struggling with this, or I don't know how to behave in this setting, or I'm worried about being perceived in this way or that way, and you know, well-intentioned enough, they say, well, you'll be fine, just be yourself. And you're like, okay, what is that? How? Because, you know, oftentimes being yourself is being your true self, being your autistic self in a group of people who are allistic is not a comfortable experience. And it is like taking off your armor, your mask, and being really exposed, right? And so I think that finding spaces where you are in community with other people who share your same neurodivergence is probably one of the most healing and liberating things that you can do, because it finally gives your being a frame of reference or a point of reference for what being you is. It's just the most beautiful thing. And I could talk about it for a really long time, but those are just my thoughts today. I'm still practicing this stream of consciousness, speaking to the camera and not overthinking every word that comes out of my mouth, and trying to talk in a way that is coherent and flows and follows a certain direction, which is difficult, but I want to be real. And part of that is just me being honest about my internal process and how it even feels to film these videos. And I hope that that can give someone else permission to know that they are needed in this world, no matter how they show up. As long as you're showing up with kindness and in integrity with your values and who you want to be, then just go for it. Oh man. Every night I check in with my horses because they don't live with me right now. They're back across the country. And my mare, Fara. And I love that Fara's coming through in this video today because every video I've made so far has had some animal magic in it, and that's a really big piece of who I am and my life. And yeah, Fara just said, you are needed. Yeah, you are needed. Your voice is needed. No matter if it is understandable or coherent to somebody else, your message and what you have to bring to the world is beautiful and needed, and so share. And that takes a lot of courage. So I really thank you guys for joining me on this adventure. As I always say, we'll see where it goes, and I'm just really grateful and wishing you all such a beautiful week. If this landed for you, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.